Okay, here we go. Are we ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Hi, I'm Sarah,
And I'm Tiffany.
and this is the Clean Romance Podcast. We're going to break down 5-star reads, hot button topics, and what makes clean romance shine. And this week, Tiffany, we're going to be talking about, is age just a number in the books that we read? So we're going to be focusing on, it seems like most of our main characters are 20 years old,
Mm-hmm.
18, 22. Does it matter to us? Does it matter as readers and writers? So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I do think that I looked it up before we jumped on this recording. There is the majority of romance main characters are in their 20s and early 30s. And I want to say of the books that I've read, it's kind of unusual for an early 30s. I think it's mostly 20s. And when you get into fantasy is when you get into the younger ages too, because you tend to have slightly younger, 18 to 21, 22. But I would say romance is mostly mid 20s to late 20s.
And so when I was 30 reading about 22-year-olds, you feel like, well, I'm basically am 22 still, right?
Right, yeah.
And I do think there's always a part where age is a number. It's in our, we all kind of still feel like kids until we hang out with kids.
Yes, that's so true.
And then we're like, oh no, I'm not actually 18 anymore or anywhere close to it. And so, but I just feel like sometimes it would be nice to read about characters our own age or at least close to it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's interesting because, we just had Courtney Walsh on the show. We just read her book, Brighter Than Before. And when I read the blurb and realized that the main character was in her 40s, there was a part of me that was like, I don't really want to read that.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I am saying oh yeah, it would be so nice to read characters that are our age. But when it happened to me, now I read the book and loved it. It was one of my favorite, probably the top book of the year that I've read so far. But still, I wasn't dying to read it. If it hadn't been Courtney Walsh, I might have kept moving past it.
Right. Maybe she's going to break open this new desire in the genre because I think a lot of people are like that. And a lot of people, I'm seeing them talk about this book and how good it was. And so I think maybe she's breaking open something new. But this was funny when I was reading it, and the male main character, I can't remember his name, but he was in his 40s, right? I mean, he had grown daughters, so he's older 40s. But when I imagined him with silver fox hair, which was so funny to me because I'm married to a 42-year-old with rich brown hair still. Weird. It was just I aged him up to 60 in my head because he was in 40 something, and it's similar to one of my friends. This is so funny. This was last year or the year before. She texted me that she was dating this guy and he was 43 or something, and I was like, wow, dating an old guy. And then I was like, oh wait, that's my age basically. So I do think we tend to think of ourselves forever 25, which is maybe why it has worked in the romance genre, that people are continuing to write characters that are 20 something, because we will forever be 25 in our hearts.
True.
But at the same time, I wish there was more representation.
True. Okay, so this kind of made me think about why do we read? What is the purpose of us reading? And I think that for a lot of romance readers in particular, it's an escape from reality. And so I think if you're trying to escape your reality, you don't necessarily want to read about someone that is going through the exact same things as you. Now, another option for why we read is to understand ourselves better. And I recognize most people aren't I read to understand myself better, but I do think it's why there's a lot of literary fiction with older main characters who are trying to make sense of their lives. And I think that when we read that kind of stuff, it helps us make sense of our lives. And so I think, like, depending on what you're trying to get out of your books, you might want different things. You might want a younger main character so that you can go back to when life was simpler and all you had to worry about was who you were going to fall in love with, you know?
So I totally get that. But I think, I guess I am personally ready for a blend of the two. Like, I mostly avoid literary fiction because 9 times out of the 10, I said that funny. 9 times out of 10, it's got a sad ending. Like, it's all this supposed to be, it's like drama. It's drama, sad, sad, sad. And I don't want drama and sad. Like that show, This Is Us, that everyone was obsessed with.
Oh my gosh.
I am sure it was one of the most incredible shows ever made. I never watched even a single episode.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, I'm not going there. That my life, like, there's enough drama in the real world. I like can't talk anymore. There is enough drama in the real world. I don't need to like watch this just heartbreaking show. And people said they cried every episode and they loved it. And I don't want to cry every episode. I want to smile. So can we have a blend of like literary fiction but happy ending? And so that's why I believe most people read romance, because they want the happy ending. Like,
I agree.
Yeah, there's enough hard stuff. I don't really care if the character's 20 or 40. I just want to feel better when I finish the book than when I started.
Yeah, so true. And one thing you made me think of is that there is something special about like seeing yourself in a book, like things that you've gone through or whatever. Like, I think in your book, all the things that come between us, you know, the moments of the kids, you know, just like going nuts, you know, and you're like, this is very relatable. But I think you don't see that a lot in romance because it's only the falling in love part. You don't usually get the kids and the, you know, ins and outs of marriage. And actually, I think there's something that we miss because of that.
Yeah.
Like the book that Lindsay and I are working on right now, has a pregnant female main character. And it was so fun to write about the pregnancy and the delivery. And I've never gotten to do that before. And so you get to take this stuff that you've been through and put it into this book. And I feel like readers are going to enjoy that who have gone through it, or maybe readers who haven't gone through it and they're like, oh, this might be what it's like. Cause we really tried.
Preparation.
Right. Exactly. Obviously everybody has very different pregnancies and labor and delivery, but we shared, you know, some of what we've been through.
I love that. I mean, I will be honest, when I started working on my Rekindle romance series, okay, I'm still reading a ton of romance, but when I logically step back and think about it, I almost have a moral dilemma with the romance world of us just constantly reading about brand new relationships of 22-year-olds. Because I think, now, if you are young, okay, like if you're not married and committed, but I'm seeing marriages break down all around me. Yeah. And I think part of it is this expectation that it should always feel good and it should always be this honeymoon stage and it should always feel like in the romance books that we read.
Right.
And so that's my passion behind the books that I'm writing and that I wish that there were more of. Now, at the same time, it's like, I like rom-com. I have read some books about marriage where, you're just like ripped apart midway through. I mean, it gets pieced back together because it's a romance. And so you finish together with a happy ending. But I like to keep it rom-com so that we're not crying, but I also want people to know, like, marriage can be hard, but that doesn't mean it's over. You know, like, you're going to have tough phases, but that doesn't mean you quit. Like, it's just not always going to look like a brand new relationship. And so
true.
So I feel like we need to be blending this. Like, It's not always, we need to be reading both. And there's just not a lot out there of both.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even with this episode, we struggled to find good options, you know, which we have some to share. And I got some recommendations from our friends of the show, authors that we know, Write Clean. We haven't necessarily read all of those, so we can't vouch for them and say that they're 5-star reads, but we know that they're clean and we know that they deal with main characters who are a little bit older. But yeah,
there's not much.
It's tough. There's really not much.
Once we clicked record, so when we clicked record, I was like, I can only think of one book other than my own. But as soon as we started talking, I realized, and I think one of them is behind me, I do know an author who tends to write older female main characters. Now, it's always newer relationships. It's not like restorative relationships, which is what I'm writing about. But still, like her newest book, Cole and Layla Are Just Friends, they were like in their 40s and they had been best friends since like high school. And I actually was like, I couldn't suspend belief quite that long. I was like, Bethany, we should have made them 35, not 45.
Right.
Because I can suspend belief into their 30s that they've like held on to this best friend relationship. But either way, it was a really great story about characters who are older falling in love. So
okay, my question about that though, had they had other relationships? Like, were they married and divorced or like, okay, interesting.
They were from a small town and they had worked together since like college, if I remember correctly, and been best friends. And like everyone knew Cole and Layla were best friends and they could all see that they were more, but they couldn't see it. And they had dated other people, but it had never gone anywhere because ultimately they were such close friends that it ruined every other dating relationship. So not to give the whole book away.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. This kind of brought up a question in my mind about, it seems like it's more acceptable for us to have older male main characters than female main characters. You see a lot of age gap romances where he's a lot older than her and we accept that. Like, we don't even really draw attention to it that much. Like, you might say, oh, this is an age gap romance, but you're like Courtney Walsh's book, everyone's like, hey, the female main character's in her 40s, but like, we don't even care how old the guy is, you know? He could be 55, like, and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Why do you think that is?
In my head, I thought he was 45. For some reason, I was thinking he's like 45, 46, and she was like 42 or something.
It's interesting that we accept that more readily than the opposite. Like, imagine the opposite. I haven't read a book like that.
I don't know where that I have either.
She's older, and honestly, I don't know that I would. You know,
you're part of the problem. No, I'm the same. It's like, I think just growing up, it's like more normal for girls to date older guys than for guys to date older girls. Like, it's weird when a guy would date an older girl in high school and college, but when a girl dated up, it was like totally normal.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah, that's true. One of my best friends in college, though, like, married a guy 4 years younger than her. And that was really unusual, you know? And in college, like 4 years, the difference between a freshman and a senior in college, that's a big difference, you know? But they love each other and, you know, like it works for them, you know? But I'm like, does this work in general? Like, I don't know. But the thing is, I am willing to read anything that's done well, you know? I think this is the key. If you're going to write an older main character, that person has to be authentically older. It can't just be a number that you slap on a character, because I have read that where I'm like, this person's 30 and they're acting like they're 18 and I'm not here for that. You know? Yeah.
I think that's I think that's the key to everything. Is it's like when we read tropes we don't like. If it's done well, it doesn't matter. But I'm with you.
That's
like
true.
I need them But I feel like it happens the opposite too. Like we read about a lot of like 18, 20-year-olds who are acting like 30 to 40-year-olds. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I still cringe at some of the things I said when I was in my 20s. True.
Yeah.
That I wholeheartedly didn't see anything wrong with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes you see some dissonance in reviews from people where people are either like, this character made really bad decisions. And, you know, I'm like, what do you expect from a 21-year-old? Right, yeah. Exactly. Like, we should not, as you know, middle-aged women reading about much younger women, we shouldn't go in with expectations that they're going to act the way that we would act. Yes. Like that's not realistic. But yeah, I agree. The age needs to match the behavior.
But then we're not going to want to read about 20-year-olds when they act like 20-year-olds. That's the thing. I think that most of the time authors are bringing like their maturity level into their character, whether they unless they're writing juvenile fiction, right? Like for middle grade and below, I think they're bringing their own maturity level in. Like even when I was hugely into YA fantasy, it was all 17-year-old characters, but I felt like I was reading about myself because I was reading books written by women my age, and they were written for people my age. They were not written for 18-year-olds. They're written, like, I feel like the YA genre, so we just, like, hop to fantasy, but the YA genre is supposed to be, like, 18-year-olds, right? But really, it also was just clean. Because if you call a book adult, you are assuming that there is X-rated content in it. And so YA just became, like, a clean, it was where you go to read clean. And so then we have 35-plus-year-old women writing 18-year-old characters who are acting like 30-year-old women.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And we're kind of okay with that.
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
you know,
yes, we are.
Okay, so we're just
talking in circles.
We really are.
But I do believe I saw a really funny meme this week as we were preparing for this episode. And it wasn't a meme, it was a reel. And this guy or girl was like, me complaining that my favorite fantasy book is all 18-year-olds. Or like me complaining that 18-year-olds are always winning the battles in fantasy books or whatever. And then, but me at 40 trying to win the battle. And he was like, oh, my back, oh, my neck, oh, my knee. And I was like, it's so true. I mean,
that is so true.
It's like when you're looking at professional athletes, there are the occasional, like older professional athletes. I actually just saw a hockey thing yesterday. My son had Sports Center on, I guess, and there was like a 50-plus-year-old hockey guy that was super shredded, and the commentators were so funny. They were men, and they kept talking about how shredded his body was. And he had just like the silver hair, but his body was that of like a 25-year-old. It was insane. But that's so rare, you know, like most professional athletes are 20 to 25 probably. I mean, they're not even making it past that. So that's why our fantasy main characters need to be fit and young.
Right. That's a good point. And I thought about that too because I do write sports romance. Right. And it's like the characters need to be like, if you're a 27-year-old professional athlete, like you are an old man.
Yeah. But I mean, you could write about Aaron Rodgers, I guess. You know, there are the outliers, but there's so very few of them.
Yes, so true. You're making me think about my friend Jessica Sproil from the Bookstagram Academy. She writes fantasy, and she is like, I am writing this for adults, but it is no spice. And her main characters are a little bit older. It's a little more gritty. You know, I feel like that's a good recommendation. Okay. I really liked her book of Song and Darkness. And that was like a kind of like a Little Mermaid retelling, very loosely Little Mermaid retelling. But I don't know. That was a good example of like, okay, this is fantasy, but it is for adults. It's not for children.
Is that your 5-star read, Tiffany?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Should we get into our 5-star reads, though?
I think so. I think we can. We've talked ourselves in circles. We want older representation. We also enjoy reading about young people.
Yeah.
Because we will always be, I think I will always be 25 in my head. And
so true.
Like, I go to retirement homes with my Mary Kay business sometimes, and they're the same. They're 25 in their head. We will forever be 25. So we don't mind reading about 25-year-olds.
Right.
But
that's true.
I will say, from a like writing about marriage perspective, I do think we need more representation of like already married or, you know, stuff like that, which it's hard to write that in romance, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's hard to market, but it's possible. So,
right. Okay. This conversation is reminding me of the conversation we had, I think it was back in February, about is reading romance good for your marriage?
Oh, yeah.
That was an excellent episode. And I feel like it didn't get enough, like, people didn't listen to it enough.
Right.
So
we'll link it. I'll put a link in the show notes for that.
Go listen to that. That was a really powerful episode, really relevant to what we're talking about. Yeah.
All right. Well, I thought I knew. So I was going to rec Courtney Walsh's book that we just recommended for 5-star reads. But then I remembered that Bethany Turner writes all older female main characters. So I'm going to recommend one of her books for my 5-star. I am looking it up on Goodreads while we talk to make sure I get the right title.
I'll share mine.
Okay.
So my 5-star read with slightly older main characters is All the Things That Come Between Us by Sarah Hickner. I think that this book is a lovely, lovely book. Very rom-com-y. You have some really good comedic elements there. It feels so real life from that young mom perspective, but still working through some tougher things, but not so tough that you're like crying yourself to sleep at night.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Go check it out. If you haven't read Sarah's book, go check it out.
All right. Well, my 5-star read, and disclaimer, I haven't read this book in a very long time. But I really enjoyed it when I did read it. And this is one of Bethany Turner's very first books, The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck. Okay. It has the cutest cover. And it is a little scandalous sounding for clean romance. Okay. But it is kind of the story of what's that? The Christian author that we like so much that wrote the Mark of the Lion series.
Oh, Francine Rivers.
Francine Rivers. Okay. Wasn't Francine Rivers like kind of a smutty romance author before she became a Christian? Okay, so Bethany's main character is that. She was a smutty romance author.
Wow.
And then she becomes a Christian. And so it is about like her becoming a Christian and going to church and like turning from her ways, but like trying to hide her past because there's some shame attached, and then falling in love with a very important person at the church with this scandalous past. And so it's like so good, and you have so many uncomfortable moments that are just like juicy, funny, but you know, painful. So I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend Bethany Turner, The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck.
Nice. Can I give a few shout outs of other books that are older main characters from our friends of the show?
Yeah.
Which we'll link the page for our friends of the show so you guys can check that out. These are authors that we know write clean. And so Ella Marie, she writes Christian fiction, and she has some rom-coms too that are clean. All of them are clean. But she wrote a book, The Risk She Takes, and they both main characters are in their 30s. And I've read her books. No, I haven't read that one, but I've read some of her books, and they're really good. Abby Grayson in Accidentally Checked by My Brother's Best Friend. They're both in their 30s, and that's like sports rom-com, fun, lighthearted. totally clean. Rose Fresquez, she writes a lot of main characters that are 30 and above. But she recommended Yours Temporarily, and that's Marriage of Convenience, where they're both in their 30s. And then lastly, Jacqueline Von Rowe, she some fantasy books with older main characters. One is called Among the Kingdoms, and he's in his 40s and she is in her 30s.
All right. And also on our Friends of the Show page, which I was just updating yesterday, we have a lot of free ebooks there.
Yes.
So if you are looking for some free ebooks or you want to meet some new authors, that's a great way to get to know them. So you just go, I don't know, I'll link it in the show notes because I can't remember the link to the... If you just go to the cleanromancepodcast.com and click on Friends of the Show, there you go.
Yeah. And it's the cleanromancepodcast.com/friends.
Oh, it is. Okay. I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember what I made the link.
Sarah, you made it very, very easy.
I tried and then I forgot. All right. Well, perfect. I'm going to go read about a 20-year-old now and then follow it up with reading about a 40-year-old.
Yes.
Keeping
that
it
sounds
real.
Good. Let's do it. Well, let us know. We love to hear from you guys. Come hang out with us on Instagram or YouTube or whatever in the comments, wherever you're listening. And let us know, do you want to read more books with older main characters? And
if you've read one that you absolutely loved, let us know. Because this is it's a rare bird. And I want more of it. I want to find the good ones.
So true. So come hang out with us on Instagram at the Clean Romance Podcast. And that's it. We're wrapping up, right?
All right.
Sarah?
Yeah, that's it. We're wrapping up.
All right. I lost my script, but we're going from memory.
Happy reading, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining us on the Clean Romance Podcast, where clean romance lives happily ever after. Wherever you're listening, don't forget to follow or subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, happy reading.
Happy reading.